near the pavilion. So what I did, I think so I spent about 2.5 hours standing at the same position and looking at everyone there playing the game. And after looking for about half an hour, I just assessed them. I says, why he's not putting the shots there? Why is he doing the same thing over and over again? And basically the opponent knew what he's doing. So tactically, he's not very effective. So I'm making the assessment on behalf of that person. Of course, just as a person watching, observer, I find that there's so many things that can be done. If I would have been there, I can put this ball here and move that person there. The song called Beat It. And it's just that the way he does things and the way he moves, of course, things has changed. But if you mention his name, then I think so the way he dances, that is something is still being followed by the young kid. Of course, I didn't neglect her as a daughter by neglecting, not knowing that she may have the interest, but she may not want to approach me to say that I want to be a good squash player. So I was passing her to some other people because I thought, she just want to do it as a social, playing with my wife those days. You must be able to see, to assess, and to make changes right away. If you don't adapt, then it's going to be very difficult. So these are the important things. First is you must be dedicated, you must be focused, and you must give time. Because if you don't, then you cannot, because you must say that I must achieve this within this time, this within this time, and to be in the circuit at this time, and I should be looking at making the top 100 within the 4 years or 3 years, and maybe I should be making in the top 50s in the next, my 5th year or something like that. Because then, of course, it also must be followed by a proper program that he has to go through,
Hey Singapore, welcome to another edition of SG Sports Legends. We are now in the home of Zainal Abidin. Zainal, thank you for joining us on this edition.
Yes.
And as usual, before we start the interview proper, we usually have a fun segment, a 2020 trivia segment. So, Zainal Abidin, favorite hobby or pastime activity?
Watching TV and just relaxing.
Okay. A favorite cartoon you watched in your younger days?
Bugs Bunny.
Bugs Bunny. You can't go wrong with Bugs Bunny.
Yes.
Your favorite P. Ramlee movie?
There's one called Seniman Bujang Lapok.
Oh.
Okay, that's one of my favorite.
Nice.
And it's always my favorite because it's something that you learn, from the wits and the intelligence of the actor.
Okay. Your favorite character from the Justice League, Super Friends?
Maybe
you got Aquaman, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman.
Maybe Superman.
My favorite also. A favorite quote by a famous person or company or?
This is the word that is my favorite. Just do it. This is something I think is very good because there's no hesitation. If you think you like to do it, you want to achieve it, just do it. Because otherwise, nothing can be done. So just do it.
Of course, that's the iconic slogan of Nike.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Who can forget?
Yes.
Least favorite moment in world history?
It's actually I visited Poland 2 years ago. So when I visited actually the Holocaust museum, that was something very, very interesting. But at the same time, is something very sad that I see such a thing. And of course, there's a time I really felt very low because it's something that I've never seen before, and it's a real experience. Looking at the place, the site, and the things around the museum.
So it was the German Holocaust in Second World War
in Poland.
You, of course, a renowned squash player, but I'm assuming you also have your own idol, a person that you look up to in the squash arena, past, present.
Well, in those days, you look at Jahangir Khan, of course, John Shield. There are different abilities that you take it up. Of course, all are good. Each have their specialty. Even like Kamazaman, and the new ones are people like Rami Ashur, and you see some of the English players like maybe Nick Matthews. Those people. I mean, they have some characters, and the French player Paul Gaultier. These are people that you see how they could go and perform over a period of time and still maintain at a high level.
Okay. Is there a favorite football club, football team that you sort of watch, support?
Yes, but normally whenever the Brazilian team plays, I put an interest to watch that. I like the way they play. Probably
Samba football.
Yeah, too much of action, but winning is just it's a question mark. But their creativity and what they do is always followed around the world.
And they are 6-time world champions already.
Yes, yes.
The World Cup is next year. Hopefully, 2022, the World Cup will take place. Favorite place in Singapore?
I usually, besides that, I go to Kandahar Street, or perhaps there's a place called IMM.
IMM as in Jurong?
Yes, in Jurong.
So that one is for shopping?
Yes, and just to walk us around. Kandahar Street is the
food.
My favorite eating place. Pariaman, that I usually go with my friends.
Okay. From the Star Wars universe, your favorite character?
I think so. Vader.
Vader.
Yes.
Wow. So you like Darth Vader as well? You join the club. Okay. Your favorite breakfast meal?
Normally I like it simple, either cereals or I will have egg omelette. Then with toast and a bit of salad. That's what I like for breakfast. Something very simple, but I think so. It's filling.
Okay. Favorite brand for sports shoes?
For my squash shoes, I like Adidas. Honestly, not because of the brand, but I think so is the fitting and the cushioning, especially for me. I think so. I like that. Of course, there are many other good brands, but it's just that
personal preference.
It's just that if I have a chance to use, I will use that. Just for, especially when doing coaching or playing some double squash.
You competed in 6 world championships, including the one in Singapore in '89.
Yes.
So the 5 other world championships were around the world. Which was your favorite city?
The favorite one was in England, UK, where that was in 1987. Okay, because on that year, of course, we still maintained being in the top 10 in the world. We came in 7th, beating Canada for the 7th and 8th position. At the same time, in fact, I actually won the World Plate individual event. Of course, that's a losers pool, but that is split by all the national players, by all the participating countries.
Yeah.
So, of course, that is very memorable for me.
From the entertainment world, going back to the 60s and the 70s, the classic Hollywood legends. So from the men's side of things, the likes of Robert Redford, Paul Newman, Charles Bronson, Steve McQueen. So McQueen, Bronson, Newman, Redford. Who was your favorite?
Charles Bronson. Well, maybe it's more action, so I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Okay. From then on the women's side of things, you had Elizabeth Taylor, Raquel Welch, Jane Fonda, and Sophia Loren.
Well, for this, I think so. Sophia Loren, I think so. She's someone classical and different from the rest, of course. If you look at
Jane, Elizabeth Taylor,
those are all very popular, but she very special the way she carry herself
on screen.
And I think so. I like the way she act. That's all.
Are you a fan of Michael Jackson? And if you are, which is your favorite song?
Well, of course, those that I like to hear is sometimes the song called "Beat It."
Beat It. Yeah,
and it's just that the way he does things and the way he moves. Of course, things has changed. But if you mention his name, then I think so. The way he dance, that is something is still being followed by the young kids. But of course, things has changed. But those days, I think so. He is very someone that is quite enjoyable to watch.
Iconic. Yeah. Can you imagine in 2022 that song is 40 years old?
Yes.
Beat It. 40. Your favorite sport other than squash?
Of course, I started off as a soccer player, and from soccer, I shifted to squash. And of course, besides that, but since I've taken up squash, I've given up all the other sports, because it's just that I think I want to focus and perform well, and to ensure that I also do not get injured in the midst of trying to play other sports. So, of course, I still like to watch, but I think so. My favorite sport now is still squash.
Okay. Your favorite venue for a holiday?
Well, I've never really had a chance, but if I could, maybe I would like to try Germany. Of course, that is something that I may visit regularly in the long term, and maybe because at the moment my daughter Nurul Amira is based there, living in Frankfurt, and probably we will spend a little bit more time together and travel around the country together. So that's what I look forward.
Germany, one of my destinations as well, because I haven't been to Deutschland. And I support German football, the national team. You support Brazil. Okay, and two of us cannot sit in the same room when the World Cup. Last question. Your favorite movie franchise that you follow or you watch?
Well, I like to watch some action movies that's called Bourne, which is like they have the Bourne Ultimatum, Bourne Legacy.
Matt Damon.
Matt Damon, yes. And that movie, well, of course, they have other actors, but along the line, that series is. I enjoy watching watching it more than one or two more times. I just enjoy watching the series, and I felt that is how you want to survive, how you want to tell the truth. It tells a bit of a story, and I felt it's good to watch that, and it's quite inspiring. Of course, I relate it to my life as well. To survive.
Hey Singapore, we are at the home of Singapore squash legend Zainal Abidin. Take a look at his trophy cabinet. This is only just, I think, 30% or 40% of the collection. So you'll see a bit more later on in the show. Zainal, now let's talk proper. And we've already all warmed up. You're the 11-time national squash champion. Your sports career spanned, across almost 30 years as an athlete, more than 40 years as a coach as well. Of course, as an athlete, it began in 1979 and it went all the way to the 1998 Commonwealth Games. But in the first place, how did you come to play squash? Because I believe you only picked it up at a later age, not even in secondary school.
I have one more year to serve my national service in the police force, and I was based in the police academy, and of course I was part of the police team, soccer team, and I was finding it a little bit not challenging having to play with a group, and it just happened on the day I decided not to attend training, and my coach Robin Chan saw me, then he was trying to look for me because he saw me, but I thought, wow, my God, I don't know where to go. And fortunately, I was quite near to the squash courts. The first thing I did was went up there, and it happens to have there was a competition taking place. So I just went up to the top and went right up to the end, at the end of the court, because that was the dead end. And let's say there's two courts, court 1, court 2. I was standing right at the end of court 2, and where all the spectators are there watching. So of course, I could see him, but he could not see me because it was blocked, and he was trying to look where I was. Then I just stand and being blocked by 2, 3 tall people. I think I'm quite safe. Unfortunately, I'm not sure whether he is standing there or waiting, near the pavilion. So what I did, I spent about 2.5 hours standing at the same position and looking at everyone there playing the game. And after looking for about half an hour, I just assessed them. I says, why he's not putting that shots there? Why is he doing the same thing over and over again? And basically the opponent knew what he's doing. So tactically, he's not very effective. So I'm making the assessment on behalf of that person. Of course, just as a person watching, observer, I find that there's so many things that can be done. If I would have been there, I can put this ball here and move that person there, because I played as a goalkeeper. Now, being a goalkeeper, I have to really anticipate what it is coming from the corners, so that who is expected, what you expected to play, and where are the gaps that you have to be ready to cover, just to ensure that, the minute the person crossed the ball, you must be ready to come up or to wait. This is anticipation. So from there on, I decided and says, I think so I'm going to give this sport a try, because it's an individual sport. And the next day, I make a decision, I want to play. But only there's a problem as well. I earn $99 a month.
During your national...
As a national serviceman those days, I earned $99, and I think so that is quite difficult to buy a squash racket. So what I did is I was just thinking what to do, and maybe should I give this sport a try, and I'm very lucky. The next day I was walking around, and they were dumping a lot of things out of the storeroom, and it happened to have a wooden racket that was thrown out of the dustbin, and I says, wow, there's a good chance. But those days, rackets are wooden rackets. So I happily collected it, but I forgot that the racket was warped. That's why it was thrown away. So I thought it's better to have a racket than not to have a racket. The only problem is I have to make adjustment. If I hit on the wrong side, the ball went there. If I hit on this side, the ball went there. So I have to adjust it, you know. And I was spending maybe about, the first time I spent about 2 hours trying to hit the ball. Then I began to love the game. The next day I do the same, and I never stopped. Then after 2-3 months, you know, a regular police officer who I play with and tells me, how are you going to hit the ball with this kind of racket? Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pay for your racket first. Okay, you're going to give me $18. I'm going to give you, I'm going to pay for this racket. You're going to do it in 2 payments, $36. Okay, I will pay for you. Then your first salary, you will pay me $18. The following month, you pay $18. Agreed? Okay, deal. You know, so that's how I started having a
work racket,
a proper racket, which
okay.
is slightly bigger, and a proper racket. Then when I start playing, I ask myself, it looks very interesting, and I'm able to play, and I'm able to control. That's my first 3 months, and I've not stopped playing. Then I make a very serious decision. It's because, number one, I have 12 months to go before I ROD, means.
Yeah.
And secondly, with $99, I don't think I can afford to pay in a public courts. I mean, based on my $99, it's impossible, because those days the courts are at $5 an hour, $3.50 to $5 an hour.
Okay.
So I can't afford. Thirdly is that I thought, what am I going to do? Basically, I'm not really, you know, I didn't pursue my academic, you know, properly.
Yeah.
And I'm just down with a very simple, basic academic background. So if I want to turn around and do something else, I think so it's too late. So maybe I took a decision, because looking at the background of what my father is, I think so it's very difficult, because he is a bus driver. Waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning, you know, and leave home at 5 o'clock, come back at 4 o'clock, sleep, have something to eat, leave home at 8 o'clock, come back at 10 o'clock. And he's doing it every day. Wow. What am I going to do if I'm going to be a bum, and you know, if I don't have something that I could rely on, I probably be doing the same job. So I make a very serious decision that I want to take up these sports as a career, meaning that I want to be the best, and in case when I retire, my fallback will be coaching. Because when you're at the top, you are recognized. So at least when you fall back into coaching, you are able to be accepted, even, you know, as a coach. And from there on, I never look back. Of course, it's quite an interesting process that I do, because I was also, by the time I was supported by the commander, you know, our convener called CJ Balat, who at the time gave me some pocket money and give me a racket from the police force and says this. So it's really encouraging. And by the time I actually played my first competition, in the first 6 months I won the novices. But I'm doing that because of my ability to run and hit it. So in order to improve and do better, I think so I have to find a way. So I took up a coaching course.
1978.
Yeah.
Age of 21.
In 1978, and that's where I actually learned all the proper basic strokes. And from there, I never looked back, because well, I'm training. Basically, I was putting very long hours, and I was putting like minimum 5 hours to 7 hours. On the weekend I'm spending 7 hours and just doing alone, or either if I'll be like a ball boy. Hello, you want to play a game? So I'll be there. This guy will call me, that person will call me and play with me.
Now Zainal, you went on to win your first Singapore National Open title in 1979.
Yes.
At the age of 22. That was also, I believe, the year you debuted for Singapore's national squad. So do you still remember that moment way back in 79 when you won your first Singapore title?
Oh yes, because in fact it was a tremendous achievement because I targeted it, and I make a decision to take the sports and want to be the best within the 1 year, but I achieved it in 2 years, whereby in 6 months I won the novices. The first year I won the C grade. On the 18th month I was called for the national team, and on the 20th month I represented Singapore for the East Asia, and on my second year I won the national championship. So it was it's quite a remarkable, I think so, achievement because I targeted, so I make a real serious effort to be what I want to do, because to me it's like life and death.
Well, that was the start of a run of 11 championship years
Yes.
as Singapore's national champion. You also went on to win 9 East Asia championships as well.
Yes.
Another streak. And above and beyond that, you went on to compete in 6 world championship events
Yes.
during your playing career.
Yes.
And I believe 1985 was the most significant one for you.
Yes.
The one that was held in Egypt.
Yes.
Why is that one the one with the biggest impact?
Well, that is the first time that the second time I represented Singapore, second or third time. And well, at that time, I think so all of us was training very, very hard. We were training very, very hard. And of course, we have a good team of committee members who has actually really, supported, developed the team, led by the late Dr. Eddie Jacob, and his committee, Munir Shah, Norman Wee, Major Heridas Naya, and a few more, that I may miss. But these are the people who, the late Benny C. So they really put the effort and travel with us. If not, they will send us, are you available? They even advance the money to send us to train, and that is tremendous. Of course, we also get support from also sponsors, to train us individually those days, like Mr. D.K. Seth, and then the late Zainal Abdul Kadir, who on the side, he and his family supported me to train overseas and to train with the late D.K. Seth, with the late Rahim Gul, and that is tremendous. And when we went there, we were all well prepared. My teammates, Peter Hill, Alex Tay, and Anthony Chua. We trained very hard, and I think those days we were also coached by some foreign, besides Rahim, there are some New Zealanders who came to help, and we performed very well. In fact, I beat the Egyptian in the team event. We lost 2-1 to Egypt, so I think so it's not too bad, and came in 6th. So that is quite an achievement for the Singapore team to be top 6 in the world at that time.
Exactly. I mean, and then of course, within the next 5 years, I think the team managed to finish 3 times within the top 10.
Yes.
In 87 as well as in 89. 89 was Singapore was 9th place.
Yes.
In 87 in England,
We were 7th.
7.
Yes.
Okay. a tremendous achievement by your...
Or the Singapore team, and of course, you know, the people involved in making sure that the team stays and perform. So it's not us also, but of course there's a team that support from the Sports Council those days, and from the people from the association, our sponsors, and it's a team effort. It's a team effort.
You mentioned the name Rahim Gul, your former national coach.
Yes.
Who was responsible for that 6th place finish in '85 at least.
Yes.
He of course passed on 4 years ago in 2017.
Yes.
What do you remember most about his coaching style, Rahim Gul?
Well, his intelligence, you know. So what you pick up is his intelligence, the way he thinks and the way he plays, and he always tells, you know, don't be afraid to do what you think is right. So I think it's good, because you must believe that you can do it, and of course I think so. What you think that is good and what he could impart to us, you know, we will you know, apply it. At the same time, we also will try and impart that to our students as well, because that is a very useful, very important, and something that what a top player needs. So this is what I believe.
Another person who played a significant role in your squash career, of course, is arguably maybe your best friend or close friend, Peter Hill.
Yes.
More than 10 or 15 years, the two of you have been buddies on court, off the court. Till today,
yes,
you know, almost
we are
35 years.
about nearly 40 years we are together.
Yeah. How did the two of you first meet?
Actually, in fact, when I just started, Peter, Jeremy Yeo and Stuart Ballard are already national players and national hero. By then, you know, Peter Hill was, you know, those three players like Peter Hill, Jeremy Yeo and Stuart Ballard was already a national player when they were like 16, 17 years old. And I'm still just coming to watch them playing. And of course, I was very astonished, because you're looking at such a young age, they are already representing Singapore. But of course, they come with very good
credentials.
Yeah, background in terms of, you know, playing parents, and of course they are regularly exposed because the parents will bring them to play, and they started as young as 6, 7 years old, and by the time they are 12, 13 years old, they are playing a reasonable level. So by the time they reach 16, 17, they are playing as good as those senior players, or even better.
So can you now describe your chemistry on the court together with Peter?
Oh, that is tremendous, because I look up at him as well, because those days he is far more, exposed than me. And I also, you know, having some bad experience playing with him. Bad experience in terms of, wow, I was actually 2 love up, I was match ball.
Two what?
2 love up.
Oh, 2 love up.
Yeah,
okay.
I was 2 love up and I was match ball, which is like those days was 9 points. I was 8-3, and I couldn't finish that one solitary point.
Oh wow!
And losing that game, I thought I could recover. By the time I finished the 4th game, I think so I might just give away the title. True enough, I lost. But this is something that, wow, I can never forget. But at the same time, I also won the Asian title with him, against him in the Philippines, where, you know, again, he was traveling and playing the pro circuit. Of course, coming from the cold, and he plays in the Philippines, which is very hot. And when I ran him to the ground and beat him in the Philippines. So it's a vice versa. It's a good competition among us, but we have no personal differences and whatever. As a player, we compete in the court, but outside, we are like brothers. Because till today, I'm still in contact with him, and we call each other. If there's anything we could discuss and share, we will always share. When he's here, he will look for me and we'll go out for dinner and discuss. And of course, apart from that, his family members as well are good friends of mine, and his nephews are all my students, and we are very good friends, you know, where I coach them. So his brothers are good friends. So we are really good friends and like buddies. So he's a great guy too. Fantastic guy.
Of course, your brotherhood and your team spirit with your other teammates also continued.
Yes, yes.
Especially when the national team won the team medal in the SEA Games in 1991, in 1993, 1995.
Yes.
So 3 consecutive SEA Games.
Yes.
The quartet won.
Yes.
And 95 was the last time until 2017 when Singapore was able to recapture the men's team gold.
Yes.
So that was a 22-year. So maybe a quick word on the SEA Games experience, winning 3 in a row.
Well, that is quite tough, even though we were favourites, but other teams are actually catching up. And in fact, like Malaysia, they were already showing sign of really, not for a long time, we may no longer able to, because of course we were still playing, but they are looking at in a far bigger area, whereby in Singapore as a country we can produce, let's say, 200 good players, but now it has gone into other states of Malaysia. So if we have 200, they have 200 from each state. If they have 8, they actually have 1,006. And eventually, the population of the squash players, and of course they start producing good players and having like world juniors like Becky, they have world champion like Nicol David. Wow, it just exploded in Malaysia. And of course they are now one of the world powerhouse in the world, even like a country like Hong Kong, you'll be surprised that they won the World Junior Girls. So it's quite a remarkable country. I mean, they are able to race despite being not having very big squash community in the region besides India, Pakistan, Hong Kong and Malaysia. These are the real powerhouse. Of course, we have new ones like Japan, even Philippines now produce some good players, and even countries like Qatar. So, and I mean, like till today, Malaysia still produce very high standard players. We are also now, of course, it's not very easy, but I think we are showing. Of course, it's not very easy, but there are plans, I think so, being put in, and the program, the training, and the commitment by the players, the coaches, and the committee. There's a lot of improvement I see in the Singapore squash scene.
Now, Zainal, so Peter Hill is a left-handed player, a southpaw. You are a right-hander. Did you all ever keep track of between the two of you when you all battle each other, who had more victories? And then the second question is, the sport of squash, does it favor a southpaw or a right-hander?
Well, the only thing is that, of course, we are not able to keep track because we didn't have a chance to play that many. But we managed to play about 2-3 occasions. I think so. At the moment, we are even, even in a way where we play in different places. So he has won the national. He has won the East Asia. I have one more. It's just that because at that moment also he was beginning to start traveling. So he has left Singapore to become a professional. And of course spending more time overseas, so we didn't play that much. Of course, between a southpaw and a right-hander, as you're aware, maybe for every 100, maybe one only is a left-hander. So of course, for someone who is not able to adapt or able to assess and make some adaptation, then of course he will be in trouble because most of the time they are always playing with the right-hander. So as a professional or a player, you must be able to adapt. Whenever there's some changes, you must quickly adapt so that you are able to fit and play the game to your advantage. But when you are not able to do that, then of course you may face problem, because where we are playing on our weak side, that is his more effective. Maybe when we play our backhand, he's playing his forehand. When we are playing our forehand, he's playing his backhand. So we must know, because it's just that most squash players have certain habits that they like to do. So they like to cross and play according to what they like, but not according to what that helps them to play better or more in control. So it depends on the players.
Coming back to the SEA Games, your debut was in 1991.
Yes.
At the age of 34. You entered the national setup in 79 at the age of 22.
Yes.
In between those 12, 13 years, you were already playing in the World Championships. I think about 3 or 4 campaigns already.
Yes.
Why did it take so long for you to represent the country in the SEA Games at the age of 34, your first one?
Well, maybe at that moment I'm still able to show that I'm able to match those players at that time. And of course, it's quite key that we need to show that we are still a squash powerhouse. And at the same time, it's very important, because in that moment, I think so, squash happens to be in the SEA Games again.
Yeah. Okay.
Because there's always a lapse.
Yeah.
It depends on where it
The
goes.
host nation.
Yeah. So at that moment, I think so, that was the last straw for squash in Singapore, because there's already an indication that the Malaysians are also creeping up, and that was really a tremendous event, that particular game, because when we played, our total game took nearly 4 over hours, just on the 3 of us, and all. Peter was actually match ball, and he broke his hamstring.
Okay.
At 7-1 or 8-0, he has to give away the match. Of course, he continued playing, but
when was this?
that's in '95, the SEA
the
Games.
SEA Games.
Yes,
in Chiang Mai.
No, it was in Rayong, in Pattaya.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So that was.
Let's talk about your daughter, Nurul Amira. She's married and she's based in Germany.
Yes.
But in her younger days, did she even think that she would like to follow in her dad's footsteps and become a national squash player?
Probably she may, but I may have made a mistake by neglecting. Of course, I didn't neglect her as a daughter, by neglecting, not knowing that she may have the interest, but she may not want to approach me to say that I want to be a good squash player. So I was passing her to some other people, because I thought she just want to do it as a social, playing with my wife those days. But had I known that she was really keen, and I would have actually bring her up to become a good women's squash player. In fact, we had an argument in one stage, that she says that, look, I wanted to be like what you are, but you don't really show interest in wanting to teach me and bring me up. But I was so much involved with my work that I neglected her on the sports side. But of course, academically, from every other things, she's treated except for the sports. So this is the mistake that I made, and of course she didn't really show me that she wants to, or pester me, and of course I was too busy at that moment. So these are the small things that I've overlooked. But of course she has played the sports, she enjoys it, but had I looked into that, I would have made her a good squash player. But it's very unfortunate that I was not You know, I didn't really anticipate or get her message. Probably she does not express enough to me that she wants to be somebody in squash, you know.
Your coaching career spans more than 40 years. In that time, you also set up your own professional academy, which is known as the Zainal Abidin Elite Squash Academy. That was set up in 2008.
Yes.
And after 10 years, your partner Anthony sort of took over from there.
Yes.
So, what did you gain from that setting up of your own professional academy?
Well, at that moment, the idea of setting it up is to develop. Of course, you know, there was a place that I could do. Of course, setting up is very easy to say, but very importantly is that you need to have a place, and that place must be a regular place, and you cannot be jumping from one place to another. So at that moment I was very lucky. I was able to get the cooperation of Methodist Girls' School, and the HOD was very supportive and allows me to rent the place, and that's where I started with the academy. Of course, I have also some parents who says, why don't you set up, we want to send our kids to be trained under your group of coaches, and that's how I started the academy. Otherwise, I'm basically alone, but of course there's some encouragement and support, and parents felt that, you know, that's a good place. So that's how, you know, we get all the players coming, you know, where the academy starts.
Okay. Some of the notable trainees from your academy, do you know, can you mention some of the names? And even some of those that you've trained even before the start of your academy.
Those that I have trained, like Richard Hill, James Hill, then I have Kenneth Chan, Mao Shu Hui, Mao Shu Yuan. Of course, those also we have Nicole Chua, Pamela Chua. These are all former national junior champions, or, you know. And then of course, along the way we have Ernest Tan. Then now I have like Aaron Liang, Kiran Tan, Evan Tan. I have those that I do when a certain period only. I have like Sneha, Aoyong Wayan, you know, but once they are certain level, they have gone up. Of course, there are also certain things that I could not continue with them. Of course, certain things that I was not able to control beyond my control, so they have moved on to go. And also like those that have gone overseas, also that that has gone to travel overseas, like Victoria Liao, Royston Raymond, and there are a few names that I may miss, but so many of them. So, and I also had some foreign players who are based in India, in China, and very proud of them as well, because all these people has gone, you know, and those that I coach in the institution, they have gone to very good schools and good colleges in the US, some that goes to LSE in the UK, Cambridge,
Yale.
Yeah, like so some of the players called Matthew Wong. Then I have some that goes to Yale, 3 or 4 that go to Yale, 3 or 4, the co-brother Nigel and Brian and Richard Hill, they goes to Harvard, and some goes to Rochester, some goes to Franklin Samuel, and another 2 or 3 from India that goes to Yale.
Yeah.
So it's fantastic.
Yeah, all across the world.
Yeah.
There's a new batch of Singaporean national players. They
Yes.
seem to, you know, they've done relatively well in the regional circuit over the last couple of years.
Yes.
What are 1 or 2 things that you think is still missing in the squash setup in order to take the sport to the next level?
At the moment, I think so. We need to build up the population. Of course, right now, I think so.
The pool of players.
Yeah, the pool of players, because I think so. What we have now is good, but if we can have maybe 5 times the volume and more around the country, I think so that will be fantastic. Of course, right now we have a good pool, interested parents school, but the pool is still very small because of the facilities. So if we could have more, and even like schools that have, if they could continue or change, or community club that's converted, hopefully they can convert back to the courts. I think so it will be fantastic. Maybe we could have another 30 to 50 more courts, because right now I think so the activities in the club is very active. And in private clubs, the only problem now is all of us are rushing for courts. There are just shortage of courts at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
As a former professional squash player,
Yes.
what is the most important thing a professional should have, especially if a Singaporean wants to turn pro?
Well, he must be very serious about wanting to be a pro, because it's not about the traveling, but it's a lot of sacrifice, discipline, and of course he must have an aim, because if you do not, then I think so it's just that he may not achieve, because it's a very difficult world, because not only him, you have other players all over the world that is traveling. And of course nothing is impossible, you just do it. Hard work and getting the right training group is very important, because if they are there, of course that person also requires a bit of skill and talent. Sometimes you are very keen, but your talent is not there, but you have to really make it up with hard work. Some that have the good combination, very hardworking, very skillful, and have intelligence, because there are many things that involves. So it's just not about wanting to be a pro. You also must have some intelligence in that person.
Yeah.
You must be able to see, to assess, and to make changes right away. If you don't adapt, then it's going to be very difficult. So these are the important things. First is you must be dedicated, you must be focused, and you must give time. Because if you don't, then you cannot, because you must say that I must achieve this within this time, this within this time, and to be in the circuit at this time, and I should be looking at making the top 100 within the 4 years or 3 years, and maybe I should be making in the top 50s in my 5th year or something like that. Because then, of course, it also must be followed by a proper program that he has to go through.
You turned 63 last December.
Yes.
Is there 1 or 2 goals that you set for yourself still?
Actually, I wanted to take part in the World Masters. I've gone into 3 World Masters. I came in 3rd in the world in 3 occasions. In the 50s, mid-50s, early 50s, mid-50s, and the 250s. It's just because in many occasions I was not able to last. So if they're going to be the last one, I want to give my best shot, because I have reached the semi-finals and I lost because of fitness in 3 occasions. And of course, not to blame, it's just the timing happens to be at a time whereby, the fasting month, immediately after fasting month is where the tournament starts. So it's very difficult to train, and 1 month is a long time during the fasting month. So my target now is, if there is, of course, hopefully with the COVID, I think so I would like to play the World Masters.
Last 2 questions. So in all your years, 30 years as a player, 40 years as a coach, are there a few words you'd like to say to the people who supported you in this whole journey?
Oh yes, very much, because without them also I could not, is of course the President, Dr. Eddie Jacob, who has put a lot of effort, and of course my wife, who is very supportive, my parents who is giving me the support, and of course those sponsors like Mr. D.K. Seth from Sunrise and Company, who actually engaged Rahim Gul for 1 month, then Zainal Abidin, his family, who sent me to UK for 1 month to play in the British, And of course, the committee from the Singapore Squash Racket Association, those days, led by Dr. Eddie Jacob, Benisi, Munir Shah, Major Heridas Naya, and a few more that I could not mention. And of course, the sponsors that who have supported me, and those people who through their gestures that have supported me, and of course those student parents who have actually engaged me, that I have something that I could save and travel. So these people, even the Sports Council, because those days we were given some funding to travel. So I really thank them, and without them, I think so it will not happen.
Almost 30 years as a national player, more than 40 years as a coach. That includes, a certified UK level 4 coach. You're an 11-time national champion, a 9-time East Asia champion. You competed in 6 world championships. 3 of those, you finished in the top 10. You're a 3-time SEA Games gold medalist. You're a 1986 Sportsman of the Year. Your highest ranking as a professional was 43 in the world. And you are a coach of 4 national teams. Zainal Abidin, you truly are a Singapore sports legend. Thank you very much for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Right.